What up YouTube, welcome to Swag Majesty Music, where if I have music, what else do I really need? Today we're going to be talking about my top albums of 2014. Sorry if I'm going to be talking a little fast, it's really cold where I'm at, so I'm just going to burn through this. And without further ado, let's get into it. First off, I'm going to go over my honorable mentions. EPs are not on the list itself, so EPs and mixtapes, I'm just going to go over some of the ones that I liked in the year. Both projects from Vince Staples, Sean Coltrane 2, and Hell Can Wait, I thought were really good. Isaiah Rashad, Sylvia Demo, Mick Jenkins, The Waters, Royal Blood, Out of the Black EP, Speedier T's Real Hair, Quest, Searching Sylvian, Black Milk, Glitches in the Break, I actually like that better than the album he put out this year, and Acres Solace. So some albums that I think should get a little bit of recognition. I'm not going to go in depth with them, but these are just some honorable mentions for the year. Modern Baseballs, You're Gonna Miss It All, Groupers, Ruins, Eternal Summers, The Drop Beneath, and This Wildlife Clouded. Alright, so getting right to the list, we're doing 15, not 10, because I just felt like there was these 5 albums that just needed to be talked about a little bit, and it's my list, so I can do what the fuck I want. Number 15, Lantlos, German atmospheric black metal group, Melting Sun. Really like this release. I'm not a big black metal fan, but I just thought what they were doing here was really interesting. They created a project that was short, but extremely cohesive and fresh to listen to. So, you know, for foreign black metal, I think this is for pink metal, so I call it atmospheric black metal. It was pretty interesting. Number 14, Throwing Snow Mosaic. This is a UK bass EDM group, I guess you could say. And on the interwebs, it says that they're garage rock, and I see the influence there, but I don't think you can classify them as garage rock. But pretty good. I think the production side of this project was really interesting to listen to. It had some glitchy instrumentation put in there, and the vocals were executed really freshly. I thought it was really interesting to listen to how the female vocals were put into the album, how they were produced song structurally. So that was pretty good. 13, Somos-Temple of Plenty. This is an emo band. One of the genres that you're going to see a lot of in this list is emo, post-hardcore. This is a really interesting release. I like what they were doing here. There's a good bit of catchiness in the songwriting. Lyrically, there's some stuff to be had, and I think structurally, it's one of the fresher releases in the genre that you can hear this year. 12, AINULINDALE Nevrast. This is a folk or a dark folk group from somewhere across the pond. I'm not really sure where. They could be French. They could also be Swedish based on the accent. And this is really cool. There's a lot of acoustics in the instrumentation. There's pianos. It's really orchestraic in the way that they put together the songs. I think the vocals do a good job of not trying to do too much and just kind of knowing their place and fitting in really smoothly. Number 11, Against Me's transgender dysphoria blues pop punk group Against Me, one of the front runners in the pop punk genre for the last decade or so. And this was one of the I'm not really familiar with Against Me before this. I'm not a huge pop punk fan. I dabble a little bit in groups like Rise Against. And on that, I don't really listen to the genre a lot, and I really like this release. I thought the concept that they were working on in this release was really interesting, and while I may not have fully grasped its potential, did a good job of at least coming across as a fresh and interesting concept. And I did review this on the TACM podcast, but I don't think it got put up. So yeah, I like this album a lot. Since Against Me is a pop punk group, it's a given that, you know, they do a pretty good job creating lyrics that are really catchy and fun to listen to in a sense. Number 10, Jillian Banks, Goddess. Jillian Banks is an alternative R&B or art pop singer. I had never heard of her before listening to this release, and I'm glad I did listen to this release. I thought it was really interesting. I think the way that she structures her songs is one of the more fresh and unique things that you're gonna hear in this kind of singer-songwriter pop music that she's going for. I think it was really fresh the way that, and she's a good singer. She's a talented vocalist, so definitely worth checking out. Number 9, J. Cole's 2014 For Sale Drives. J. Cole, mainstream rapper, conscious rapper, conscious hip-hop. I'm a J. Cole fan, not to say that everything he's done has been great. I think Silent Story had some nice tracks in it, but it was an uncohesive project. Born Sinner was the opposite. It was just really too much of the same, and I feel like this album does a good job. It has, you know, the topical value that you get sometimes from Cole, that you can appreciate through his mixtapes and his albums, as well as it being a strong, cohesive album and not being too much of the same. There's a lot of pop, both in the production and in his flow throughout multiple tracks here, so definitely one of the more unique, definitely the most unique J. Cole project that he's put out, and probably his best. Number 8, the Hotelier Home Like No Place Is There. I think that's what it's called. Emo post-hardcore group, the Hotelier. Again, this is a group that I was not familiar with going into this year, and I'm glad I did listen to them. I think really all that needs to be said about this album is just go listen to the intro, because what you get in the intro is what you're going to get throughout the entire album. Lyrical content that's definitely worth listening to. A really unique structure. I feel like the intro isn't like any intro that I've definitely heard before. I think it's this album does a good job of hitting its emotional standard, in the sense that when it needs to be extremely emotional, it is, and then when it doesn't need to be, it isn't. It doesn't really over-exaggerate the emotion behind the lyrics and behind the vocalization. I think that's an important part for creating good post-hardcore music, and they do a good job with that. Number 7, Kid Cudi's Satellite Flight, The Journey to the Mother Moon. This is a release that I actually reviewed on the channel, so I'm not going to talk about it. The link to the review is in the description, so go check that out. Number 6, Run the Jewels. Run the Jewels 2. Oh, fuck, I can't. Oh, I tried to do this before, and I can't say this. Number 6, Run the Jewels 2. There we go. Run the Jewels experimental rap outfit. Featuring LP and Killer Mike. LP handles production, and he also raps along with Killer Mike. Run the Jewels 1 was a really fun release. I thought it was definitely, you know, really awesome to listen to, and it's like I could put that on any day and have fun with it. But it didn't blow me away. It was a release that I listened to. I'm like, all right, this is LP production. It's really cool. You know, they're spinning some bars. This is a really cool project. When you put on Run the Jewels 2 and you get through it, it just blows you away. LP absolutely kills the production. Lyrically, there's a lot more to be had here. And I just think they do a good job of creating a project that is actually an album as a whole, rather than something that just feels more like just kind of a fun little mixtape like Run the Jewels 1 was. Number 5, again, focusing production. Awesome production. Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, Pinata. I can't really, just go listen to the beats, the instrumental album on Spotify after you listen to the album itself. And it just blows you away. Madlib on every single beat kills the production. He does a good job of implementing samples and creating beats that are easy for Freddie Gibbs to rap over. And Freddie Gibbs definitely brings something to a project. He's not just holding his own. He definitely adds an element to the project that makes it worth listening to. And conceptually, they do some really cool things here. The way that they, on tracks like Knicks and Lakers, the way that they kind of parallel the city of New York and LA with the teams and rap about that. I just think this album's I think this album is what should be known as the album to take away from 2014, in my opinion, because it has its accessible elements, it has its gangster elements with Freddie Gibbs. Its production is really varied and accessible at times, and it's really dense at times. Just overall a great project that should be more recognized. However, Pinata was not my rap album of the year. My rap album of the year is my number 4 album of the year, Clipping. Self-titled. Clipping, experimental hip-hop group. I liked their Mid-City album that they put out either a year or 2 ago. This album is way better than that. I love what they do on the production side of things, and I think when it comes to rapping, I think that's what makes this, what makes Clipping different from an experimental standpoint in hip-hop is other experimental groups, they have, you know, really crazy production, and then they also alter the flow, whether it's MC Ride, you know, Half Screaming, or Shabazz Palace is really monotone, broken flow, or, you know, any other of the experimental hip-hop groups. You don't really get normal rapping over crazy production. That's what Clipping brings you. It's really, really wonked out production, really glitchy and at times obscure production over just normal rapping. The rapper knows how to flow. He's a traditionalist rapper. He has bars. And I just think the way that these kind of conflict within themselves combine to create something that's really interesting to listen to. Alright, rounding up the top 3. Top 3 was probably one of the hardest top 3s I've had to do. just because these albums could pretty much all flip-flop, but I think this is a good order. Number 3, St. Vincent, self-titled. St. Vincent, art pop, experimental indie music from singer-songwriter Annie Clark. I haven't heard of St. Vincent before this. I did hear, obviously, the sample that Kid Cudi used on Man on the Moon Part 2, but I didn't know who the hell that was at the time. And going and listening to this now made me go back to all of St. Vincent's discography and listen to it, because St. Vincent is considerably and arguably a musical genius. I think that the way that this album is set up, the production that's behind it, is really fresh, and the way that she can write it, the way that she can show that she's still a talented vocalist while being extremely unique and not for everyone, is really interesting. It's one of the fresher releases that I've heard this year by far. And like I said, I'm just glad I listened to St. Vincent, because now I've gone back and I listened to everything, and I'm definitely a fan. Number 2, La Disputes, Rooms of the House. La Dispute, post-hardcore group, put out one of my favorite albums of all time in Wildlife. And while this isn't Wildlife, I think it's a different beat altogether, and it can be appreciated in different ways. Rooms of the House is an extremely enjoyable experience. I feel like with Wildlife, you're getting really, really passionate and raw emotion, while this is more somber and kind of drawn out in a almost depressing, moody emotion, in a sense. You know, I'm not going to say that this is better than Wildlife, because I don't think it is, but it's a different album, and I don't even want to be comparing it, because La Dispute is doing something completely different here. They're using a lot of symbolism throughout the album that I think is freshly executed. They ended with a spoken word track that I thought was nice. The album feels short and concise and cohesive, and overall, La Dispute is La Dispute. And I think the thing is with La Dispute is you either like them or you don't, in a sense, because of the vocal style in the genre as a whole and how they perform their vocal style. If you don't like the vocal style, you're just not gonna like the band, point blank period. So yeah, if you've heard La Dispute before, you haven't heard this, go listen to it. It's a different experience, but it's definitely an enjoyable one. And my number 1, again, another artist that I had no idea existed before hearing this album, The Pull of Gravity by Young and Heartless. I still barely know who these guys are. They're really kind of underground, and I don't say that to be hipster or anything. I like, you look them up and you can't really find anything. This is an emo project, and when I heard this shit, man, it blew me away. First of all, the first track comes in, and lyrically, what they're talking about throughout the entire album is just really interesting. I feel like the songs are structured almost completely in a unique way for the genre of emo. And again, it's one of those things in this type of realm of music where if you're going to be putting emotion behind your lyrics, whether it's extremely emotional, angry singing, or really somber, depressing vocalization, it has to be warranted, and I feel like this album does an amazing job with doing that. The lyrics, the instrumentation, the vocals, they all match to create a mood for whatever is being discussed, and it's really nicely executed. I feel like at the end, the singer shows off his vocal talent in the second to last track, where they have kind of a traditional post-hardcore build-up that leads into an extreme note. And while this is a really traditional scheme for the genre, it's beautifully executed, and I think because of the song topic, it's definitely an enjoyable experience. So if you're into emo hardcore music, this is definitely worth a listen. As always with any of these albums, you know, I'm not going to say you're definitely going to like them, but they're worth a listen. I think all of them, if you're in this realm of music, you should give all these albums a listen. 2014, I don't think was the year in music that 2013 was for me. You know, there's a lot of disappointments. Oxymoron, Eminem, Avenged Sevenfold, handful of others. But, you know, it was definitely an enjoyable year in music, and I think the cool thing is when you don't get caught up in just trying to accept, like, the music that you want to like. Like, I wasn't a Vincent Sevenfold fan. If I would have just been like, oh, I just want to listen to Hail the King, maybe I'd play Hail to the King 80 times and I miss out on other projects. And I think there was definitely a lot of less known stuff for me that I'm glad I got to check out. So that was my 2014 Musical in Skies. Later in the day, a movie list will be coming out. Also, a mixtape by Swag Magician is going to be coming out soon. I'm not sure when. I'm still waiting on some features, and I need to go home to record because I'm not home, obviously. But be on the lookout for that sometime soon. As always, guys, stay cool, keep fresh. This is Swag Magician Music. We're 5 Music. What else do I really need? Peace.